Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to carry on talking about The Bad Batch Season 3, and as we await Episode 5 The Return, fans have been sharing their various theories and speculation for what we can expect. Now while we don't know too much about the next one, the title The Return is likely in reference to Crosshair's return to his brothers, sorting through some of those very intense emotions, and readjusting to yet another dynamic, having their brother back who caused so much harm. What are those conversations going to be like? Is he going to be forgiven straight away? Well, Jennifer Corbett on Twitter has teased it's going to be yet another emotional episode, and she advises fans to not put away the tissues just yet. But Crosshair's return does bring up some pretty enormous questions. Most notably, does Crosshair know that Tech is dead? They've not actually addressed this specifically, but there have been a couple of hints that suggest Omega has already told him. Let's explore this. In the Season 3 premiere on Tantis, Omega frequently visited Crosshair's cell and kept him up to date as to what she was up to that day, spoke to him about her daily routine, and from this we can deduce she updated Crosshair as to what Echo and Rex are doing, maybe the skirmish between Hemlock, Hunter and Wrecker on Old Mantell, and the fact Tech is gone. Unless it's too traumatic for her, I can't see how a conversation about Tech's death could have been avoided. It could have been part of Crosshair's redemption, the fact one of his brothers is gone, and died during the time that Crosshair was himself part of the Empire, that might have played on his conscience. But there is also an argument to be made that the showrunners and the writers on the show want us, the audience, to see Crosshair's first reaction to this news, so this could still be coming up. Our second piece of evidence is that on Wayland, Crosshair asks Omega if Tech taught her about Plan 72, and she responds Tech had her memorize every single plan, and to this, Crosshair replies with a sense of longing, of course he did, and it's spoken in a way as if he knows Tech is gone, and that a big part of his legacy is Omega knowing all of the plans, fully integrating as a member of the Batch. Crosshair may have responded in a sarcastic and kind of snickering fashion, but there was a hint of warmth. But as I mentioned, does Crosshair actually know that Tech is dead? Is Crosshair and Omega's friendship the result of their bonding over their brothers and the loss of Tech? Did he come up in their conversations? I've even seen a theory stating that Crosshair felt so much guilt after being told Tech was dead, that that's one of the reasons he told Omega on Tantis that he deserves to stay there, deserves to be in a cage, because maybe on some level he's trying to punish himself and hates himself for leaving his brothers. But if he doesn't know, it might be heartbreaking to see him react to the news. It could be a very scary situation in Crosshair's mind, realizing his choices have directly led to heartbreak, and he might start to sympathize with his brothers, understand why they're so mad with him. Knowing Crosshair and the fact he's going through a very complicated, conflicted mindset, he's probably already starting to have these thoughts, and I wonder if he's already worked it out. When they landed on Ryloth's nearest moon, Crosshair only saw Wrecker and Hunter. There was no Echo, which as I say, Omega might have explained to Crosshair, and no sign of Tech. Episode 4, a different approach, ended on such a cliffhanger. I'm so curious to find out what happens next. Another wild theory that some fans have is that maybe Crosshair found out that Tech didn't die. Maybe he knows he's been transformed into one of Hemlock's projects. So when he gets the news, he might give a rebuttal. No, Tech is alive, but changed. That's why another popular theory is that the episode The Return is in reference to Tech's return. Very far-fetched, and honestly, I don't buy it. I have the same reaction to fans who think The Return is in reference to Asajj Ventress. According to some of the reviewers, that's not until later in the season. It wasn't even in the first 8 episodes. I can't imagine Hemlock revealing anything to ordinary clones, who are very much shut off from the experiments of Hemlock and Palpatine. But you never know, that could be a massive plot twist. But only someone like Emery Carr, Nala Se, or Hemlock would know, but we just don't know how they're going to address this. Many say Tech is still alive. I'm honestly in two minds about it. So I do think The Return is a very simple allusion to Crosshair's return to the Batch, and all of the emotions that that's going to involve. He's really turned a corner, cooperating with his sister Omega, a much more supportive, positive person, who seems to have a lot more life in him than he used to, but it's still going to be a long and difficult road ahead. So just before we move on, my dear friends, I want to ask you, do you think Crosshair knows that Tech died? Staying on the subject of the Bad Batch, Lucasfilm Animation Director of Cinematography Joel Aaron has teased more animated shows after the Bad Batch. He said this: "Wait till you see the rest of the season. Don't forget, We've got some more tales sometime in the future. We've been very busy. This is a massive hint, and this comes just 2 days after Lucasfilm Animation put out a recruiting notice because they're hiring more animators. So the next show that comes after The Bad Batch is set in stone, and it's just a matter of time until they announce what it is. I think there is a good chance at the end of episode 15 of The Bad Batch Season 3, they give us some kind of post-credit scene, teasing what's coming next. And as we know, or rather as we assume, it's probably got something to do with Asajj Ventress. Lucasfilm have been announcing on social media hiring channels that they're now looking for more animators for the studio. Now that work is completed on The Bad Batch and we're in the final season, the job listing could indicate a possible uptick in future projects, not just one. We have Tales of the Jedi Season 2 coming sometime this year, Visions Volume 3, but it's a reasonable assumption there is going to be another Dark Times era show that continues after The Bad Batch, maybe featuring the surviving characters. Even though in the midst of the final season, it seems as though Lucasfilm has another big title in the pipeline, and they're staffing up early. Maybe they're already working on a teaser announcement. There was a rumour from Star Wars Sessions that following Tales of the Jedi Volume 2, there would be more Tales of the Jedi anthology series to come, so rather than one big show, several spin-offs that focus on the Sith, bounty hunters, and possibly other factions of the Star Wars universe too. Maybe Bo-Katan's time with the Darksaber, maybe before the events of The Mandalorian Season 1. Now this is also very good news considering the massive amounts of layoffs, ones which have really hit the entertainment industry. Just the other day, EA announced it was laying off 670 of its workers. This affected the Mandalorian first-person shooter game. Very bad news. So this announcement could be very invigorating for the Star Wars franchise. So fingers crossed there are more amazing Star Wars animated shows in the works, coming down the line. Just 4 days to go until The Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 5. And just a curveball that got me thinking. The early reviewers said there's going to be a lot of surprises in the first 8 episodes. And considering the location confirmed by the Star Wars Guide on their website, that where Omega and Crosshair met the Batch at the end of Episode 4 is the same moon of Ryloth we saw in the first season where Omega met Hera, could we see the Sindulas in the next episode, or at some point in Season 3? Could the Batch call in their help to try and take down the Empire? I would love to see more of young Hera, more Chopper. The Ryloth arc in the first season was amongst the best of the entire show, just some food for thought. But that said, my dear friends, share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. Are you excited for Episode 5? And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.